Hello, everybody. Ezra Rozier here. So, before I get into this Arizona Cardinals game we have coming up, I like to give my closing thoughts on the Jaguars game we had last Sunday. I wanted to analyze that game earlier this week, but I was very busy. I was at the game on Sunday, and then on Monday, I had to get on a train headed for Arizona. Just arrived here in Phoenix yesterday. So, this Jaguars game we had last week. Doug Peterson walks on to Lincoln Financial Field, gets a standing ovation. He gets a very warm reception like he rightfully deserved. And then this game begins in disastrous fashion for the Eagles. So Jalen Hurts, he throws a pass. It bounces off the arms of Zach Pascal. It bounces off the hands of Zach Pascal, and it is intercepted and returned for a touchdown by Andre Cisco of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars go up 7-0 off a pick six. The Eagles, we went 3-and-out on our next possession, and then Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars' next drive, he finds wide receiver Jamal Agnew for a touchdown to go up 14-0. The Jaguars were sitting with a 14-0 lead over the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. A lot of people were terrified, but for some reason, I just wasn't concerned. I wasn't scared when the Jaguars went up 14-0. And I know that I called this game a trap game in my preview because we were coming off a big win against our former franchise quarterback Carson Wentz, and we were playing a team that a lot of people underestimate in the Jacksonville Jaguars. But for some reason, even when they were up 14-0, I didn't fear that we were going to lose the game. This reminded me a lot of the last game we played against the Jaguars in Philly back in 2014. It was the season opener, week one. The Jaguars were in Philadelphia. Nick Foles had a horrendous first half. He threw two interceptions and he lost two fumbles. The Jaguars had this undrafted rookie receiver by the name of Alan Hearns, I believe. His first two catches in the NFL went for touchdowns. If he had over 100 yards in the first half alone, two touchdowns over 100 yards in the first half alone, the Jaguars had a 17-0 lead over the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field by halftime. Now, the rest of that game was an absolute blowout in the favor of the Eagles. Nick Foles, he redeems himself for that horrible first half. He goes berserk in the second half. The Eagles score 34 unanswered points and win 34-17. So this game last Sunday, it reminded me of that 2014 game. This team, I saw this team on Sunday battle adversity. I saw this team take adversity heads on and say, hey, let's go. We can make this. We can get out of this hole. The Eagles, after falling behind 14-0, after the Jaguars took that 14-0 lead at Lincoln Financial Field, the Eagles outscored the Jaguars 29-7 for the rest of the game. We outscored the Jaguars 29-7 after falling behind 14-0. That is how you battle adversity. That is how you dig yourself out of a hole. So Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't say it was a spectacular day for him. It wasn't a show-stopping day. He wasn't amazing, but I thought he had a solid performance overall. He had about 200 yards passing, I believe 16 for 25. He did have the interception returned for a touchdown by Andre Cisco, but that bounced off of Zach Pascal's hands, so I'm not sure how much I could blame Hurts for that. But the star of the offense on Sunday, last Sunday, Miles Sanders. He had 134 yards, his most yards rushing in a game ever, and he had two touchdowns. Not one, but two. Two touchdowns in this one game. Miles Sanders was coming off a season last year in 2021 where he had zero touchdowns. Miles Sanders didn't score a touchdown all season last year. This year, Miles Sanders is really making a case for him to get paid. Miles Sanders is making a case for the Philadelphia Eagles to pay him. He is making it very difficult for the Eagles to decide whether or not to move on from him because Miles Sanders, here's the thing, we all love Miles Sanders. His conduct on the field, his production on the field, when he's on the field, he's a freaking stud. His play on the field speaks for itself, but it's a matter of getting him on the field. We all know that he struggled with injuries, but this year, those injuries, he hasn't been hurt yet, and he is really showing out. I believe he's actually third in the league in rushing. Miles Sanders is having a really good season so far. He looked really freaking good on Sunday. That was his best game of his career. 134 yards, two touchdowns, easily his best career game. And then let's go to the defense. Jonathan Gannon's defense continues to impress me. I was a huge Jonathan Gannon critic heading into this season, a huge Jonathan Gannon critic. Over his defense last year, I didn't like. But this year, ever since week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings, when we shut down that offense that had Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook, his defense has just been lights out amazing. His defense has been really spectacular. Shut down Carson Wentz with 9 sacks in week 3. Then this game, we forced 5 turnovers, not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 turnovers off of Trevor Lawrence. He had 4 fumbles, and then he had an interception too. He threw an interception to James Bradbury, who is very underrated this season so far. I cannot believe the New York Giants cut him. I mean, isn't this amazing? The New York Giants are our hated rival. They cut James Bradbury, and then he's having an amazing bounce back season with us. Don't you love to see it, ladies and gentlemen? But this defense, we had 5 takeaways off Trevor Lawrence, 4 fumbles, and then the 1 interception by Bradbury. This defense is really clamping down on these offenses that we've been playing. Now, I know some people will attribute that to the poor weather, all those fumbles, because the weather was very bad in this game. But still, that defense was lights out amazing. And speaking of defense, not arguably, the best player of this game, besides Miles Sanders, the best player of this game, Hassan freaking Reddick. He had 2 sacks, he had 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries, all in the same game. This is why you trade for Hassan Reddick. I was saying it before it happened. Like, we got to trade for Hassan Reddick. This guy is really good. He has like really good numbers these past few seasons with the Cardinals and Carolina. We needed him on this team. I was praying that we made that move for Hassan Reddick, and we did. Games like this show why you signed Hassan Reddick. 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, all in the same game. Those are legendary numbers. That hadn't happened since 2005, Jared Allen. Hassan Reddick, this was Hassan Reddick's coming out party against the Jaguars. He was fantastic. He was fantastic. And then the other thing I want to talk about, so the previous 2 weeks against Minnesota, against the Vikings, and the Washington Commodes, these previous 2 games, we did not score in the second half. We fixed that issue against the Jaguars. On Sunday, we did score in the second half. I mean, we were down 14-0. We had to score. I knew that the complexion of the games would determine that, because even though we weren't scoring in the second half these last 2 games before the Jaguars, it was because we were winning in blowouts. I believe that had the complexion of those games been different, had they been close games, then we would have been scoring. This game, we were down 14-0 against the Jags. We had to dig ourselves out of that hole, and we scored in the second half. This team battled adversity. This team took on adversity and won. I was very proud of this team. We beat Doug Peterson. This was our first time beating a former head coach of the Eagles since 2005 when we went to Kansas City. We were down 24-6, and then we ultimately won 38-31 against Dick Vermeil's Kansas City Chiefs. One of the greatest comebacks in Eagles history. Now, the 2005 season, it wasn't that great. It was a pretty bad season. Right after the Super Bowl, McNabb and Owens had a falling out. Owens was suspended for the rest of the season. We got destroyed by Jake Plummer and the Denver Broncos. That was Terrell Owens' final game as an Eagle. But this Jaguars game, we beat Doug Peterson. I really didn't want to see Doug walk in here and get a win. I love Doug Peterson, but when he's playing the Eagles, I'm rooting for the Eagles. Easily. It's easily the team before any player or coach in this case. So the Eagles really impressed me with that win against the Jaguars. And that brings me to this game against the Arizona Cardinals. We have not won in Arizona since 2001. 2001. I was 2 years old. 2 years old when that game was played, when we beat Jake Plummer 20-7 in Arizona. We have had some very tough matchups here in Arizona over the past 22 years. Arizona has been this house of horrors for us. We have lost, I believe, 6 straight games in Arizona. It was either 5 or 6 straight losses in Arizona. Most painfully, the 2008 NFC Championship, where we were 1 game away from reaching a Super Bowl. And then Larry Fitzgerald had an extraordinary game against us. I believe he had 3 touchdowns that day. The Cardinals beat us. Kurt Warner threw a flea flicker, and I believe it was Quentin Demps that got burned on that play. The Eagles lose, and that was Brian Dawkins' final game ever played in an Eagles uniform. That was Brian Dawkins' final game as a Philadelphia Eagle, that 2008 NFC Championship. It's just, I really don't like this team. I don't hate them as much as the Buccaneers, the Saints, or the Seahawks, but I don't like this team at all. They used to be in our division. I want to see us end this Arizona curse. We have to get our win in Arizona this year. Like last year, well, not last year, the last time we played in Arizona, Jalen Hurts' rookie season, the year we drafted Jalen Hurts, 2020, he played a very good game. He had over 400 yards, I believe, 4 total touchdowns, but we lost because we couldn't contain Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Darius Slay didn't play in that game. We got fooled on a fake punt late in the game, and I believe our holder got injured. Zach Ertz ended up having to hold for Jake Elliott, and we missed an extra point to take the lead. That 2020 game in Arizona, I thought it was the best game of Jalen Hurts' career for a long time until the Vikings game this year, until the Vikings game surpassed it. So I've seen Jalen Hurts play well in Arizona before. I am confident that he can do it again. Guys, we are 4-0. 4-0. I want to be 5-0. And what better way to go 5-0 than to end this horrible losing streak we have in Arizona? We have had horrible luck playing in Arizona. We've got to change it. We have to change it. We have to win this game. And speaking of that, we have another former friend facing off against the Eagles, Zach Ertz. Now, Zach Ertz, of course, he's a Super Bowl hero. He caught the game-winning touchdown in Super Bowl 52. We'll love Zach Ertz. He's going to retire as an Eagle. I'm sure that his jersey may be retired as well, but I want to see us plant Zach Ertz. I don't want to see Zach Ertz getting freaking wide open and scoring a touchdown on us. I don't want to see Zach Ertz having a very breakout performance against the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? All right? I can't have that happening. We got to beat the Cardinals. My concern about this game is the pass rush, not the offense. I believe that our offense is better than Arizona's. I believe our defense can hang with the Arizona Cardinals offense, but the pass rush, it's really the pass rush. These past few weeks, my main concern has been the pass rush, especially for this game because Kyler Murray is a scrambler. Kyler Murray is a very slippery quarterback. He'll get away from you with those legs of his. He'll run away. That game against the Raiders 2 weeks ago, the Raiders were up 20-0. There was this 2-point conversion play. Kyler Murray made that play after being still for like 10 seconds. That play was like 20 seconds long, it felt like. He ran apparently 81 yards on that play. I couldn't believe that. That was like a Madden type play. He runs all the way back, and then he takes the 2-point conversion in for himself. All right, so you got to shut down Kyler Murray. Don't let him get out the pocket. Hassan Reddick. You were drafted by this team. The Cardinals drafted you in 2017. Coincidentally, you were taken right before we drafted Derek Barnett. Hassan Reddick was drafted right before the Eagles took Derek Barnett with the following pick. I want to see you have a breakout game against this team, the team that drafted you, that let you go. You know this game you just had against the Jaguars where you had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries? I want to see you put up those numbers against this team, the Arizona Cardinals. They let you go. They let you go, Hassan Reddick. I want to see you make them pay. Make them pay. This defensive line, I need Brandon Graham. I need Fletcher Cox. I need Josh Sweat. I need Jordan Mailata. Why did I say Jordan Mailata? I need the defensive line to step up in this game. I need the defensive line to really make Kyler Murray's life miserable on Sunday tomorrow. I cannot have us losing a 7th straight game in Arizona. I cannot have that. I'm telling you, that losing streak, it has to be at least 5 or 6 games. 2001, the last time we won in Arizona, 2001. That was freaking 21 years ago. 21 years ago. I need to see us get this one. We have to beat these freaking red pigeons. I cannot see. I am so tired of losing to these freaking red pigeons. I hate the Cardinals. I don't hate them as much as certain other teams, but I do hate them. And they're freaking cheaters, too. They stole one of their championships. One of their championships was very illegitimate. And I'm serious about that. Look it up. 1925 Arizona Cardinals championship. The team that should have won it that year, the Pottsville Maroons, they were suspended, and then a freaking Cardinals player, he hired some freaking high school players to play against the Cardinals in an exhibition game to make their record look better than Pottsville Maroons to go past them in the rankings. And then the Cardinals, they stole that title, is what I'm saying. I'm serious about that. Look it up. 1925 Arizona Cardinals championship controversy. The true champions that season were the Pottsville Maroons. Okay? So take care, everybody, and go Birds.